4, 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon and welcome to the Grande Prairie City Council meeting for Monday, August 10th, 2020. We'll start our City Council meeting as we always do with our national anthem.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you to the National Film Board for the images of our country and to an alumni from our very own Grande Prairie Boys Choir for the audio. We'll move on to the adoption of our previous council meeting minutes. Can I get a motion for that set of minutes, please, from July 13th? Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I would move that Council adopt the minutes of the City Council meeting held Monday, July 13th, 2020 as presented.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Thiessen. I know there was some discussion about a small amendment. It sounds like administration has that one. Were there any other amendments or changes we needed to get before we adopt the minutes? Seeing none, and with that previous note, then we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion carries unanimously. And then that'll bring us to the adoption of the agenda. Can I have a motion for the agenda? Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. I move that Council adopt the agenda as presented.
Okay, thanks, Councillor O'Toole. Any discussion or debate on the agenda as presented? And seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you, and that motion carries unanimously. And we'll move on to the delegation portion of our agenda. This is an opportunity that we have at every regular City Council meeting and have continued to have through the pandemic, as we had before, an opportunity for anyone to come forward and address Council on any community-related matter. We also have a second opportunity this evening in our evening session where public delegations who schedule a time are able to do that. I believe we have a couple of delegations for this evening. And I'll look to administration, the city clerk or director of corporate services to let us know if we have any delegations that have wanted to attend during our open delegation portion. Arlene?
Thank you, Mayor Given. To my knowledge, we have no one here for this committee, this council meeting as a delegation.
Okay, thank you very much. Director Bork, are you aware of anybody that had come to City Hall intending to present?
No, not aware of anyone.
Okay, thanks very much, Director Bork. As I said, we do have two opportunities for public presentations. We do have one scheduled for our scheduled delegation portion later this afternoon, but this opportunity does exist at every regular City Council meeting. Since there were no delegations for this portion, we'll move through. We have no items of unfinished business, and that'll take us to reports. Item 7.1, the Economic Recovery Program. Councillor Bressie, I'd like to recognize you first.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Given. I'm just going to declare a pecuniary interest and turn off my camera to excuse myself from this portion of the meeting.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Bressie. Councillor Bressie will do the digital equivalent of exiting the room by turning off his video feed, so he's essentially left the council table as he declares that potential pecuniary interest. I will look to Mrs. Rebecca Lee to introduce this report. Rebecca.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I'm very happy today to be presenting on behalf of the Economic Recovery Subcommittee of the Economic Development Advisory Committee. I'm also joined today by Cindy Park, our subcommittee chair, and who will be available for any questions at the conclusion of the presentation. So in May, Council approved the 2020 capital budget revisions, which included the development of a Council Economic Recovery Fund. Following that, in June, Council requested the Economic Recovery Subcommittee of the Economic Development Advisory Committee bring back funding recommendations to Council on a per program basis for up to $1 million via the Economic Development Manager. Since then, the Economic Recovery Committee has been meeting just about weekly, working to identify priorities and places where they felt that the funds would be able to make the greatest difference. The committee has built out an economic recovery program based on sort of three main principles: the concept of creating local support grants, building improvement programs, and development incentives. Recognizing the evolving need and concerns of the business community in light of COVID-19, the Economic Recovery Committee is recommending the rollout of an economic recovery program happen in 2 phases. Today, I'm here on behalf of the committee to bring forward a recommendation for what we've coined Phase 1. This is looking to address some of the more immediate concerns and priorities of the business community. Phase 1 of the Economic Recovery Program includes 2 grant opportunities as well as a secondary grant proposal recommendation that we'll speak to afterwards. The Phase 1 of the Economic Recovery Program includes the beautification and patio grant. The committee believes that this will act as an immediate economic driver by providing local employment and business for local trades and suppliers. And this program will build off the success of the Downtown Facade Improvement Program. This grant opportunity should look very familiar to Council. It is largely built off the success of the Facade Improvement and Patio grant that were rolled out across the downtown. With a few small changes, the beautification grant will be a matching grant for up to 50% of eligible costs to a maximum of $15,000. This one it's been tweaked slightly to encompass facade, landscaping, and patio under one beautification grant. This is recognizing opportunities to create employment to help businesses invest in their properties, and also to help some of the restaurants and other retail spaces expand their capacity and their seating in light of some of the restrictions in place due to COVID. Additionally, the committee is recommending the creation of a local marketing grant built on a very similar principle to the beautification grant. This grant is also a matching grant, covering up to 50% of costs to a maximum of $2,500 for marketing plans or initiatives that aim to drive cash flows to business and supports their overall recovery efforts. This one was really based on the recognition of the committee that a number of businesses have had to adapt their operations, adjust their communication style, and adjust their mode of delivering services in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And this is to support them in their communication efforts and their ability to get the messaging out there that yes, we are open for business. We might not look the same as we did previously, but we are still here to support and to serve the Grande Prairie market. Additionally, within the local marketing grant, we've identified a secondary opportunity where businesses are eligible for 75% of funding up to a maximum of $7,500. This will encourage, where 3 organizations are partnering together on a strategy or a campaign. This is aimed to create partnerships and itineraries, and is really looking to support regional tourism to the urban center, recognizing that tourism is not always within sort of that traditional definition. This might mean a sports store and a restaurant working together to create an itinerary or an event or a reason for people within the broader trading area to come to Grande Prairie and support businesses, while continuing to recognize safe travel practices. In addition to the grants identified within the Economic Recovery Program, the Economic Recovery Subcommittee is recommending that Council approve the Chamber of Commerce request for $50,000 in funding to support the purchase of the Get in the Loop franchise. I do also have Tanya Oliver, CEO for the Grande Prairie and District Chamber of Commerce, here to speak to any of Council's questions. But the committee believes that this opportunity is a great opportunity to support local retailers and businesses of all types to help market their companies and their products and services, and help them to expand their digital reach during this critical time. I will let Tanya speak to a little bit more of the Chamber's vision and mission with this, but the committee did recognize this as a great opportunity and did want it to be noted that the Chamber is intending to roll this opportunity out to all businesses across Grande Prairie, not exclusively the Chamber members. However, utilizing their Chamber members is a great opportunity to build on critical mass and roll it out across the city. In terms of economic impact, the Economic Recovery Program is intended to stimulate investment and employment within the community in wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. We're aiming, the goal of the grants as recommended today are to build upon the successes of facade improvement and patio grants within the Downtown Incentives Program, which resulted in on average $4.07 of total investment for every $1 of grant funding within the downtown. We're hoping to see similar metrics across the city, and hoping to see some unique and different opportunities for businesses to invest in their properties, and also for businesses to invest in their marketing and communication strategies. So in conclusion, the Economic Recovery Committee is recommending that Council approve Policy 318 Economic Recovery Program and its funding request of up to $500,000 from the Economic Recovery Fund. In addition, the Economic Recovery Committee is recommending that Council approve the Grande Prairie and District Chamber of Commerce's $50,000 grant request for the purchase of the Get in the Loop franchise. With that, I can take any questions, or I also have Cindy and Tanya available for questions as well.
Great, thanks, Rebecca. And so I do see some questions, and maybe Council, we can, any questions on either portion, either Rebecca's presentation or the Chamber's presentation and request for the $50,000 for the Get in the Loop program. I'll first recognize Councillor Clayton, then Councillor Friesen.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Question for Ms. Lee. Actually, a few questions, and if you feel appropriate, hand them over to Ms. Park or Ms. Oliver. Please go ahead. I'm curious, the bulk of the money seems to be focused in regards to retail, in the sense that it's you know, patios and facades, so hospitality retail. I'm curious in the composition of your committee, what sort of a diverse background did your committee have in choosing, you know, as these, the focus seems to be fairly into two sectors?
Through the mayor, the goal with the committee actually was to avoid being very specific to retail with regard to the marketing grants or the facade improvement grants. The committee felt that there was a broad interpretation there where it could be applied across many sectors. For example, an accountant may need to communicate with their clients new ways of accessing services. Dentists and other professional services are able to utilize the marketing grant. We did do some back and forth with regard to whether we wanted it to be specifically tourism, and I used a retail example just because that was one that we batted around quite a bit in terms of not being a traditional definition of tourism, but was a great example of sort of our unique situation. So speaking specifically to your question, we did have representation. The committee is comprised of Cindy Park from Energy. Councillor Plot also sits on the committee. We have Dan Wong from Barstow and Dennis Hussey from Barstow, as well as Dean Radburn from Ernie's. So we did fairly diverse.
So specifically, I guess, in regards to recruitment sort of strategy, was there any conversation with GPRC in regards to what economic recovery looks like?
Not with this program specifically, no.
Okay,
we have had other conversations with GPRC, and they're involved in sort of other programs, but with this one, GPRC was not specifically engaged, no.
Okay, thanks. And then in regards to the Get in the Loop program, I know you identified that it wasn't going to strictly be for chamber members. I'm curious, so is this program an opportunity for the chamber to generate a positive income?
Maybe that's for Ms. Oliver.
Hi, thank you. Yes, it will ultimately be an opportunity for our Chamber of Commerce to diversify our revenue streams. When we're first rolling this out, especially with the support of this grant, we'll be offering it for free to any businesses that sign up. But ultimately, it will be a revenue source for our chamber.
Okay, and on that point, if I may, Mayor, is there initial cash output from the chamber, or is this strictly a financial contribution from the city?
Yes, so we are prepared to move forward with the purchase of Get in the Loop and take a look at what we might be able to do for the business community as far as offering it up for free goes. So the purchase is $35,000 to get the franchise. And businesses will ultimately have to pay to use those services. And depending on if we get the grant or not will kind of depend on what that looks like for the free period. So yes, absolutely, we'll be putting some money behind it as well.
Great, thank you.
Ms. Park, did you have something additional?
I just wanted to add something. The chamber is adding value in other ways as well. The staff is going to be managing Get in the Loop, and that is, so call it GIK as opposed to a cash outlay. But there is an entire staff that's going to be involved with the community about educating, managing it, and being able to build it for the community.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Friesen, I think you were next.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I just wanted to let you know, Mayor Given and colleagues, I had initially not been terribly concerned, but as I hear more about this program, I think that I will excuse myself from voting as well. I do own a property downtown that I don't think could access a grant, but because the possibility is there, and certainly the perception may be there, I will excuse myself from further comment, discussion, and vote. So I'll nip out now as well.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Friesen. Appreciate that. As more information became clear, the choice to vacate the council chambers. Sure, thanks very much, Councillor Friesen. Councillor Clayton, you had something additional?
Yeah, I am not at this time in a conflict, but as Councillor Friesen also identified, it may in the near future become a conflict. So just for a personal comfort level in the discussion, I will remove myself from these votes. I do have some other questions, follow up for Ms. Lee in regards to the economic recovery, not the portions that are being voted on today. So if it's okay, Mayor, I can ask those questions now or come back, whatever you prefer.
Sure. Well, actually, why don't you ask the questions now, because we don't actually have a motion on the table. We're still, we asked to have this come directly to council rather than through committee.
Sure.
The intent there is to speed up the process in terms of the delay of going from one meeting to the next. Doesn't mean we don't get to ask all the questions that we want to ask and have a good discussion about it. So we're just doing that here at the council table rather than at the committee table. So by all means, any questions?
Perfect. Thanks, very good. Ms. Lee, can you tell me in regards to the subcommittee, what the next steps are in regards to what you see with, there was other identified dollars and sort of how much further work is ahead with this subcommittee and what lies ahead?
Sure. Thank you, through the mayor. The committee has identified sort of phase 1 and phase 2 roughly allocations for the funds. Other priorities included things like childcare and recreation grants. We've done some initial research and speaking with a number of stakeholders, and for both of those in particular, we found that there wasn't a clear answer yet where we could provide the greatest need. With regard to childcare, we recognized initially, early on, we recognized that it could be a barrier for parents returning to work and due to sort of issues with childcare spaces. However, we haven't been able to clearly identify where that need lies and if it is a direct result of COVID-19, and there's still quite a few questions outstanding on that piece. Similarly with recreation was another need that was identified by the committee, but things are still evolving quite a bit on that area as well. And a lot of the local groups are still trying to get a handle on what exactly this means for their operations, where they'll see increased costs or decreased revenue opportunities. So we are still in ongoing discussions on those two in particular. Other areas that were identified as opportunities for the group were around development incentives and larger term scale projects. There's been quite a bit of discussion around fees, development and building permit fees. And so, but it was quite a broad context. So we've been working on sort of narrowing that in and looking to see what exactly that looks like moving forward. So at this time, the committee felt that we needed to put quite a bit more work into that before we brought forward any recommendations to council, but we didn't want to delay these sort of quicker term action items in the meantime.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Park, you had something additional?
I just wanted to add as well, with the provincial government funding also changing on a regular basis, we wanted to ensure that the funds that we are allocating to this community couldn't be done by provincial grants, so that the funds actually go further.
Okay, Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. I guess this is a question for Ms. Oliver. In regards to the Get in the Loop program, so the request is $50,000, the cost is $35,000. There is money going in from the chamber, but of that $15,000, if we were to approve it as a whole here today, how long would that extend the free period for businesses in our community?
Thank you, Chris. So the intention is for their first 3 months after signing up for the program, and then we'll put a deadline. So as an example, if a business signs up by October 31st, then they'll get their first 3 months for free. So we haven't put the exact time frame around it yet, but the intention is the first 3 months. It's a delicate balance of making sure we want to get that critical mass and help people as fast as possible. So, but the intention is the first 3 months.
Okay, and what is that worth to a business typically in just a regular month?
So a regular month, pre-COVID, their going rate was $225 a month. Now with COVID and all the different changes that are happening, they're introducing different tiered options. So the $225 a month is kind of middle of the road. There's a $100 option as well. And with the chamber being the franchise owner, we do have the ability to offer preferred pricing for our members. So there will be a lower price offered to the membership as well, as an option.
Okay, and just a question about scale. Let's say everybody in the chamber said, we want to get in the loop, and they wanted this service. Could we do this for 3 months for every member of the chamber?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, perfect,
yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Plott.
Thanks, Mayor Given. Just a question on some clarification on the 3 months free offers. As chamber members, they're both city and county representatives from both. Would this be specifically if you were a city resident business? Like if you were a county business, could you apply for this Get in the Loop grant and get 3 free months?
Ms. Oliver?
Thank you, Councillor Plott. We actually haven't, we didn't discuss that. So we can definitely put that parameter in place if that was the wish of council.
Okay, just a question, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Plott. I'll just say, so I did have the same question as well. You know, the first program is sort of has a geographic boundary, and so we can kind of figure out exactly who's going to be getting that. With the second one, we can't necessarily see who's going to get the benefit of that. Has the chamber had any discussion with the county about supporting the initiation of the Get in the Loop program?
As of yet, not officially. The one thing I would say about a business in the county, it could, I mean, like anything else in our area, it could be a business that is used by our residents. So, but informally, we've let the county know that this is something we're looking at doing, but we haven't made a formal request, but it is in discussion.
And then the other question I had, can you just speak a little bit, Tanya, about the the recommendation is for $50,000. I heard you say $35,000 to get the franchise, and so I just want to clarify that the additional $15,000, the difference between the franchise cost and the grant request is to do what? To allow that 3-month free period?
Thank you, Mayor Given. So we are hoping to really expand the knowledge of the Get in the Loop program and planning to invest some of those funds locally to increase the marketing. So, you know, the one side of it, of course, is getting the businesses to buy in and advertise on it, but we need the consumers as well in order to make the platform work properly.
Okay, and so I guess another one would be, did the Chamber of Commerce have any thoughts, or did the committee have any discussion about sort of co-partnering with the Downtown Association? Obviously, Downtown Association members would have an ability to participate, but recognizing that there's a revenue opportunity here, and we're kind of being asked to support a revenue opportunity for one business advocacy organization. Is there any potential for a partnership there so that both organizations could benefit?
I definitely think that that's something we can look at as maybe an affiliate with the program, because the Chamber would be the owner of the franchise. It's definitely very attractive for the downtown businesses. So to strike a partnership like that would be a potential. And if I could comment on the previous question as well, with the funds and the Chamber, you know, we wouldn't be making the revenue right away. It would help us to be able to offer it for the business community for free for longer, rather than, let's say, a 1-month free period as an example.
Okay, thanks. Ms. Park?
Just to add to the answer to your question, Mayor Bill, there has been discussions with Get in the Loop that they are willing to partner with organizations. It could be even GP Tourism if we decided to, Downtown Association. There is some revenue generating opportunities for other organizations. However, the Chamber hasn't made the decision of what that looks like yet.
Okay, thank you.
The system allows for it.
Okay. Any other questions for any of the delegation or Rebecca? Seeing none, then I guess thank you all so much for the presentation. We'll move on to the business arising on this. And I will look to my council members that are here still in attendance. And I note that Councillor Clayton has exited the council table, and I think with the intent of declaring a conflict of interest on this item, as have Councillors Friesen and Bressy. Okay, so I saw Councillor Plott, I think, ready to make a motion.
Thanks, Mayor Given. Councillor Thiessen and Racing, as I guess we're the two representatives on this committee. I do want to thank the subcommittee and Rebecca and her team for all the work that was done. There was a lot of ideas, and I realize council's kind of getting this. We vetted a lot of ideas before we got there and tried to really think about what we could do to the community now and later, and that's why we did a phase 1, phase 2 approach. The $450,000, the big bulk of the money, I think Rebecca had in order her presentation, but the big reason we wanted to do that was if we can continue to leverage at that $4 to 1 ratio, like money goes a long way in the community. We were hoping to do that now so that there was an opportunity for businesses to look at doing these facade improvements over the last few summer months into the fall before winter, and then have it available for next year if it wasn't overprescribed. So I just would like to make a motion, I guess. I'm sorry I'm going to be long-winded there, but I'd like to make a motion that Council, Mayor Given, do you want this all in one motion, or do you want to split this into 2?
Well, you know, if it wasn't split into 2 off the bat, I probably would ask to have it split into, or you know, so yeah, let's do one and then the second one.
Okay, so let's make a council approved policy 318 economic recovery program and the funding of up to $500,000 from the economic recovery fund.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Plott. Any discussion or debate on that motion? Seeing none, and I'm just trying to make sure I'm keeping track with my council members that are still on my screen after everybody sort of jumped around a little bit. I don't see any, then so I will call for the vote. All those in favor? That looks unanimous of my council members that are still participating. Okay, thank you. And
thanks.
Then there's the second.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Given. So I'd make another motion that council approve the Grande Prairie District Chamber of Commerce $50,000 grant request for the purchase of the Get in the Loop franchise Hope we can support this. I think the one thing the Chamber will do, and they've done very well in their community, is one of the largest chambers in the province. Great staff, and I think leveraging their staff and their expertise is going to help this program go a long ways. I think the $50,000 does seem like a big investment from the city, but I think this is going to help the Chamber catapult another revenue stream. And also, I think the $225 a month being free for up to 3 months for businesses that take advantage of it, I think is really good value, because we're trying to help as many businesses as we can with such a small amount of money. So I hope we can support this as well.
Thanks, Councillor Plott. Open for discussion and debate. Well, so I'll raise one. I feel obligated to. It is this question of who the city's financial support benefits. Obviously, city taxpayers pay a pretty significant property tax burden, and we're using property tax dollars to fund something to benefit businesses somehow. So I'm at a bit of I'm a bit challenged to support this if I don't know that the people who are footing the bill are the ones that are getting the direct benefit from it. And if somebody could help me with that, either by encouraging me to support it, or by making some kind of motion that provides some, that this funding is contingent to that support being directed to city-owned businesses or something. But it just, somebody help me out with that, either with an amendment or with talking me down off the wall on that one. Councillor Blackburn and then Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I guess I understand that there are going to be businesses outside of the boundaries of the city who may be able to take advantage of that. But we need to remember also, I think, that our citizens go to those businesses just as easily as they come to businesses within the city. And I think that that having that access, also, we have the fact that there are residents of the county that are going to come in and buy things from the businesses within the city. I think there's enough crossover there that the city financing supporting a program like this for the benefit of anybody who's going to be either purchasing or receiving customers by it is a good thing.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Blackburn. Councillor O'Toole, and then I think Councillor Clayton.
Yeah, Mayor Given, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak on this. I truly believe that the money should go to the businesses that are in the footprint of the municipality of the city of Grande Prairie. So, like you said earlier, the taxpayers are paying for this, and it's going to benefit and I'd like to see it benefit the businesses that are in the city of Grande Prairie. So that's my 2 cents. I don't know how we want to word that. We still got lots of opportunity to speak, but that's how I feel. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Clayton. Councillor O'Toole, I see Councillor Clayton, and then Councillor Friesen is rejoining. Councillor Friesen, just after Councillor Clayton speaks, if you just, actually maybe both of you, if you just want to clarify if your concern about pecuniary interest is related to just the facade grants, if that's the case, and maybe you could just say so. Councillor Clayton.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Given. I've come back to the council discussion because myself included, there are, I guess, a clarification from Ms. Karbashewski. Where are we seeing the conflict? There are numerous people at the table that are chamber members. So is that a conflict for people to be voting on something that in turn becomes a revenue stream for the chamber itself? If not, then I'm comfortable to be back at the table. Would I potentially, through my small business, be participating in the Get in the Loop? Possibly. So I just want to know through legislative services where we're seeing this conflict.
So actually, I'm going to actually take Arlene off the hook there, because it's not up to legislative services to make a determination about that. It's up to each individual council member. If a council member had a property that they may apply for a grant for the facade improvement or patio grant, then fair enough. And that's what I think I understood from at least a couple of people. I think the second part here, the proposed grant to the Chamber of Commerce, is a general benefit, and we might not have anybody left on City Council that could vote. So that's a pretty good indication that it is not a specific self-serving sort of thing. something that benefits an individual property owner that other property owners couldn't access, might. But when you look at it that, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of 9 members of council probably have chamber memberships. So yeah, I would say that's a pretty broad-based program that isn't specific to any individual. That's probably broadly applied across the city.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you for that clarification. I guess then although there's a motion on the table, if I have a question, is it appropriate, or would you prefer, Mayor Given?
But so there's a motion. We can have discussion and questions for sure.
Sure. So, question for Ms. Lee or Ms. Oliver. In this opportunity that the Chamber of Commerce is seeing right now, I wondered if there was any consideration for the Chamber to fund the project solely, and is the Chamber in a financial situation where they can't fund it on their own, or you know, what does that look like? If today the answer is we love the initiative, but we don't think it services enough of our ratepayers, we think it's great for the Chamber to take on its own, will the Chamber continue to go down this path without support from the city?
Ms. Oliver?
Thank you. Yes, we will continue without the support from the city. The offer to get on the platform for free for the length, we'll have to have, it'll be a different discussion, but yes, we are proceeding with the purchase of Get in the Loop.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Clayton. I have Councillor Friesen, then Councillor Plott.
Thank you for your patience. I'm working on a new device today that I haven't used before for Zoom. So thank you, Mayor Given, for recognizing me. I've jumped back in quite happily. I have no compunction weighing in on this particular request. It benefits virtually every business in Grande Prairie who is a chamber member, or and you know, may potentially increase chamber membership, which is always a good thing. But the way I read it, it also benefits consumers. Anything that benefits consumers, and perhaps you know, if you take a broad look at that, it may attract consumers to Grande Prairie because they've found something on the app, and I think that that's not a bad thing at all. I do have a question though, for perhaps Ms. Oliver, if I may, Mayor Given. Thank you. Ms. Oliver, so there is a reference in here to it kind of being, there's loops that could be city specific, but then there is reference to the region as well. And given that you are a regional organization, have you asked for any grant funds from our regional neighbors?
Thank you, Councillor Friesen. We have not yet formally asked for any funding from anybody else.
Okay, and is that a consideration?
Yes, it is a consideration. There isn't a specific program we could apply for at this point, but it is a conversation that we've had around internally.
Okay.
So yes, we will be exploring what that would look like to approach the county.
Okay, thank you. I may come back, Mayor Given, but that's good for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Plott and then Councillor Thiessen.
Thanks, Mayor Given. Just maybe a question more for Ledge Services or somebody from our CLT or management. If we go ahead with this and we were to give the Chamber the $50,000, are we going to have letters requiring certain specifications? We're talking about 3 months free membership. I'm sure the Chamber will honor their word, but I'm just wondering if there's an ability for us. I don't want to see us stop the county from being involved and stop their members from being involved, because I think with any platform, we need numbers. We need people on there. I am wondering if there's an opportunity for us to maybe have it where city residents receive 3 months free. It's part of our $50,000 contribution. Having said that, we don't, county members would have to pay a fee. Maybe it's $49 or something, but I mean, I don't want to discourage county members from being on this, because the platform overall working helps our businesses as well. So there's a bit of a gray zone there. We do want people that are in Claremont to come shop in Grande Prairie to use this platform. I'm just wondering if there's any mechanism that we can safeguard ourselves with the city to make sure that our local residents are going to receive the 3 months free. And if the county did decide to choose money to contribute money, would we have the ability to get some of our money or contribution back? So can maybe somebody from management, just, if that makes sense, if somebody from management can help you in how that would look from a contractual obligation from the city's perspective, we gave the $50,000.
Just before Ms. Lee answers, I'll just say that right now, the way the motion's worded, council hasn't put any constraints. It's essentially $50,000 to the chamber. Chamber, go and do with it what you will. If council chose to put some kind of constraint or limitation or other sort of subject to something in the motion, then administration would have to figure out how to do that. So that's from the motion making side of it. I don't know from the contractual side, Ms. Lee.
Thank you, Mayor Given. That's exactly it. So what differentiates this motion from the above motion is the economic recovery program is administration run. We'll have a policy and procedures within. From the administration perspective, we saw this purely as a grant to the chamber to administer as they see fit. Council has the right within their motion to set specific parameters to those funds to award up to $50,000 in grant in the support of waiving businesses with a physical location within the city, and request the chamber come back and report on those results in a period to be set by council. Council has that leeway, however you see fit.
Okay, so I've got a bit of a queue. I just want to let everybody know that I've got them. So I think I've got Councillor Plott, Councillor Thiessen, Councillor Blackburn, Councillor Bressy. Did I get that in the right order? Councillor Plott, you just want to finish off on this thought before we go on that?
Yeah, please, if I can, Mayor Given. I just have a question for Ms. Oliver on that, because it is, Rebecca, you just mentioned it, Ms. Liebert mentioned it there, but is there an accountability or a mechanism that could come back to the city on a quarterly basis, just so we can show the community the value of the $50,000, how many of our local businesses enrolled and prescribed? Is there a mechanism that we can get that information back from the chamber?
Thank you, Councillor Plott. Yes, absolutely. We can provide reporting. That would be no problem.
Okay. So I'll leave it for now, Councillor, or Mayor Given. I'd be happy to make an amendment on the original motion just to add a couple of things that I've discussed, but I'm kind of curious to see what the rest of council's at before I do that.
Sure, yeah. And, or any other council member that has that sort of ready could make a motion to amend Councillor Plott's motion. Councillor Thiessen, then Councillor Blackburn, then Councillor Bressy.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. I'm actually not opposed to the motion as it stands right now in the slightest. We're going through unprecedented times, and we are also in the middle of intermunicipal collaboration framework. I think contributing to the region only looks good on the city of Grande Prairie. In saying that, I would encourage the chamber to continue to explore and to have that discussion with the county to see if there's further investment. If you got to put money in on your own end, on the back end, maybe you're saving yourself some money there for the future date simply by making that ask. And the chamber is in the business of making businesses in our region successful. So I want to ensure that we can enable them to do that. I just wanted to point out that it's already been pointed out a couple times, but our business relationships are kind of homogenous. If one person's successful, they're going to spend money in another area and vice versa. But I was just, I had already highlighted some of the popular loops. For me, this seems like it can be beneficial to lots of businesses, but if you just look at the popular loops on the first page of the letter down at the very bottom, things to do, food and drink, salon and spa services, golf, delivery, shopping, and health and fitness. These are largely services that are provided within the city of Grande Prairie, not necessarily as much so in the county. So I think city businesses have a lot to gain through being in this, and I'm not sure I want to be in the realm of, well, I need to have this caveat for you to do this. Supporting our local businesses is the right thing to do, whether they're in the city borders or outside the city borders. I hope we can have that discussion with the county. The chamber continues that, and then they see the same rationale that we're all in this together and we're more successful when we work together. So I like to be setting that example, not laying down some laws. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Thiessen. Councillor Blackburn, then Councillor Bressy.
Thank you, Mayor Given, and I will thank Councillor Thiessen for the words that he expressed because my thoughts are similar. I already mentioned, I think that, we've got people in the city who will shop in the county, and we have people in the county that will shop in the city. But we also have residents of Grande Prairie who would benefit from this, who operate businesses outside of our boundaries. We also have people who are not residents of Grande Prairie who own businesses in Grande Prairie. So I think this is one of those times where what we're looking at is the community of Grande Prairie rather than the commercial or political boundaries that seem to separate us from time to time. So I'm very much interested in seeing this looked upon from a regional point of view, and I think that it's going to be good on all of us if we make this contribution and help make this a success. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Blackburn. Councillor Bressie?
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Season and Blackburn, I've got very similar thoughts to them in terms of, I think that on a philosophical level, sure, I think it's really important that we're looking out for the benefit of our residents and our tax base, and that we're not unfairly subsidizing the region, as is the case in so many areas. But I think this is an area where, in all practical cases, there's so little of the types of business that I think that this would benefit outside of our boundaries. And also, I don't think that when I'm looking at the hamlet of Claremont, those are destination-based businesses where you're going to be getting people driving out. I don't think this is going to drive a lot of traffic out to Claremont. I think it could drive a lot of traffic to Prairie Mall or to our downtown. And so just looking at this in terms of the actual practical import of having this app, I really do think it's going to be overwhelmingly people that pay taxes in our city who are benefiting from this. So I appreciate the philosophical conversation behind this, but in a practical level, I just don't think it's a big deal in this case. So I'm happy to support this motion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor O'Toole?
If everything is done, I'd like to make an amendment to the motion that Mr. Palat has made. And
sure.
that motion would be subject to any funds above the initial franchise purchase be applied to this city business as free access period. So speaking to that, I do feel that the majority of the money is coming from the city, and the majority of the shopping will be done in the city. And I think that if there is a business that's outside that's going to benefit from this, then we should get that free access, and the businesses that are outside the city's footprint would have to pay.
Okay. Well, that amendment's in order and open for discussion and debate. And so just to be clear, I think we heard, so Councillor Toole, we heard from Ms. Oliver that the purchase of the franchise is about $35,000, and the $15,000 would go to marketing or the free period. So is that sort of your intent, that the 35, whatever the franchise costs, the city is basically paying 100% of that, and then any additional amount? Okay. Open for discussion debate on Councillor O'Toole's amendment. I see a Councillor Thiessen. Councillor O'Toole, I'll just say I support the amendment. I think it still allows the County of Grande Prairie to support this. It allows for county businesses to access the program. If the county wants to choose to make this free or to provide a free period for their businesses, they have the ability to do that. And the city is still picking up 100% of the cost of purchasing the franchise in the first place, which is a benefit. So we're really picking up a share on behalf of the region. We're just saying that any funds above and beyond that franchise purchase, we're dedicating towards ensuring that city businesses get a free period, which I think is a reasonable step, while still supporting them.
Absolutely correct, Mayor Given.
Councillor Thiessen?
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. So I guess I have a question. I don't know if I'm going to support this motion. I'm pretty sure I'm not. But this is for Ms. Oliver. Just a simple question. When I asked of this $15,000 if it could support this free period for all the Chamber's businesses that are associated with the Chamber of Commerce, you said yes, it could. So that includes the county as well, I would assume?
Yes.
Okay.
We actually have some members, we have some members in Jasper and Grand Cache as well, but we have in Edmonton, we have members kind of everywhere, but yes, it would include county businesses.
Okay. Yeah, and so simply for that point, I don't know, it kind of feels petty to me to, like, for $15,000 and whatever the chamber's going to pot into this, we're going to be able to support all the members of the region and beyond, just for this free access period. And I think that's a good deal. And I don't think we should close the door on that. And I think we should toot it, and we should encourage the county to join in and help out the chamber, because we're all in this together. Yeah, again, this caveat, this stipend, if it can be done for the money that we have right now, well, I don't know. I just kind of feel like at the end of it, like what, 10,000 maybe will support the city, and then we're sitting on 5. I don't know how to quantify that. I'm not sure the chamber knows how to quantify that quite yet. And I think, we just make it simple. If we start bringing up these points of contention as we approach our deadline for ICF, I think it could lead to a bit more of a strained relationship in achieving other future negotiations. So for those reasons, I'm just going to stick to my original guns and not support this amendment. Sorry, Kevin.
Thanks, Councillor Thiessen, Councillor Blackburn, and then Councillor Bressie.
Thank you, Mayor Given. For all the reasons that I mentioned in my debate on the main motion, I can't support this amendment. It's one of the things that's going to create momentum for the success of the project as a whole, and I think we should be in for it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Councillor Blackburn. Councillor Bressie, and then I'm going to take another opportunity in debate in Councillor Plott.
Yeah, thank you. I'm still listening to debates. Don't have my mind quite made up yet, but I think I'm unlikely to support this amendment. And for the reasons stated, but also just interesting. I think we all know the way that people act in this region is somebody in Sexsmith is very happy to come to the city to do business in the city. Somebody in the city is very rarely happy to go to Sexsmith to do business there. And I think of if Cowbella's in Sexsmith signs up for this app, I don't think that's getting city residents to go out to Sexsmith. What that might get is get somebody in Sexsmith to download this app to follow the deals at Cowbella's and then go, holy smokes, I see these great deals in downtown Grande Prairie, and I got to go there for a day. So I honestly think it's probably in our best interest to get as many. I think it's in our selfish interest. Never mind that I want to work together as a region. Even just looking at purely in a zero-sum game type manner, I think it really is in our interest for as many businesses as possible in the entire region sign up for this. So I won't support this amendment, I don't think.
Okay, thanks for that qualified opinion, Councillor Bressie. So, I'll just say, as a member of the ICF negotiating committee, I don't feel at all bad about this motion. I don't think it's going to have any impact on the outcome of our ICF. And over the course of this term, we've all had many discussions about how we can best support city businesses, how we can keep property taxes low to compete with our neighbor, and be as efficient as possible. I think this is a responsible use of money, and that I would be happy to go to any city business who's paying property taxes to the city and say, here's what your money that you paid us did for you. And I can answer fully and truthfully that it benefited them directly. And in a very direct way. I bought you 3 months of free access, or whatever the free period ends up being, and that your city tax dollars did that for you. I would have a bit more of a challenge saying that your city tax dollars did that for a business that may compete with you. And so, I would prefer not to have to be in this situation. I think we all know that. I prefer regional solutions over independent ones. And this does not exclude the the county, any other municipality from supporting the program and providing their businesses with free access for a period of time as well if they choose to. So I just would encourage council members to think about that when they're considering the amendment. Councillor Plott and then Councillor Clayton.
Thanks, Mayor Given. This is why I love council and having the debates, because I was originally going to put a motion out, and as I've listened to my colleagues here, I agree. I think we just supported the original motion. I can't support this amendment because it is a little bit petty. My gut is that I want to protect the ratepayers of the city, and I want to make sure we're giving them the best value. But I don't know if we will be. If this platform is going to be successful, it needs everybody to buy in the region, and that's how it's going to be the most successful. So I think we need to maybe be a better steward sometimes of not worrying about whether the county beat us on something, just doing the right thing for the region. that if we can afford this, this is the right thing for the region. So let's just do it. So for that, I don't support it. Sorry, Councillor O'Toole. I appreciate the intent, and I kind of feel like I started this conversation going that way because I was worried about, you know, this with ICFs that are going on. But I think because ICFs are going on, we're hypersensitive to it, and we should just follow our guts. It's the right thing to do, and we're splitting hairs over what could be thousands of dollars right now. So I hope this motion gets defeated and the original motion passes. Thanks. Thanks,
Councillor Clayton.
Thanks, Mayor Given. Yeah, I can't support the amendment for a couple of reasons, as stated, but also a reminder to councillors, there are people that own businesses in the city and live in the county and vice versa. And for us to have a regional approach, I think for a small amount of money, it makes sense to support everybody in the region. I do have a little bit of concern, as Ms. Oliver identified, that they do have out-of-region members. I don't love the idea that taxpayers go to supporting potential hotels in Jasper. I don't love the idea that that this money that's collected in the city of Grande Prairie in turn goes to support membership outside of the region. I don't support the motion, but as amended, but I may look for a subsequent amendment. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Clayton. Any other discussion from council members? Sorry, I see you, Tanya, that you come back, but I think that was just a part of the debate, and we'll try to do our best to keep a difference between debate and questions. So for council, any other discussion or debate on Councillor O'Toole's proposed amendment? Seeing none, I'll take one last opportunity. I appreciate the discussion and everybody being so willing to participate in regional solutions. I think that that's the right thing to do. I think that's what the city has historically done. I think that's a good thing. And I hope that all of you will expect the same from the partners in the region who have continually chosen independent solutions rather than ones that are sort of collaborating across a number of municipalities. I think our council's got our heads screwed on straight and think about this right, and good for us. I would be happy. I will support the amendment, and I would encourage any council members that want to demonstrate that we're supporting our city businesses to do the same. But if it doesn't pass, then I guess that's the way it goes. Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor O'Toole to close? No?
Yeah. Everybody's got their own opinion on this. That's fine. And in the end, I really do believe in regionalization and regionalism. But at this point in time, I thought we would maybe make it more of a benefit for the city residents. And if you are in favor, obviously there's more. It looks like it's not going to pass. But I want everybody that's in the city here knowing that I do believe in local business. Local business can be on both sides of the border. I totally agree with that. But I really don't like the idea of our city taxpayers supporting somebody on the other side. With that being said, we'll have a vote, we'll talk about it, and then we're done. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor O'Toole. So we'll call for the vote on Councillor O'Toole's amendment. All of those in favor? I see 4 in favor and opposed. Okay, I see 5 opposed, so the motion does not carry. That brings us back to Councillor Palat's original motion. Is there any other discussion or debate on that motion as originally framed? Councillor Clayton.
Thanks, Mayor Gibbon. A clarification question for Ms. Oliver. Can you expand a little bit on how this app system, whatever you want to call Get in the Loop, works in the sense of, you mentioned that you do have members outside of our region. Will they be included, or how does that work?
Ms. Oliver?
Hi, thank you. Yes, so we actually don't have the ability to sell to any of our members that are outside of our franchise area, which is the county of Grande Prairie, is what our franchise area includes. And they break it up kind of in 2 maps. So there's the franchise area, which is the larger area, and then the area of responsibility. And the area of responsibility, to start out with, where we would be putting all of our concerted effort, is the city of Grande Prairie.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion or questions before we move on to the vote on Councillor Plot's motion? Okay, seeing none, then we'll call for the vote on Councillor Plot's motion as originally phrased. All those in favor? And that looks unanimous with all council members in favor. Thank you. Thanks very much to the Chamber of Commerce, the members of the Economic Recovery Steering Committee, and Councillor Plot, Councillor Thiessen for their work on that. Look forward to future recommendations over the next couple of months. And I think we're ready to move through, unless I'm mistaking my agenda, into committee business. Starting with item 8.1, Council Committee of the Whole. Can somebody make a motion for that set of minutes? Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. I would move that Council approve the Council Committee Whole meeting minutes for July 14th, 2020 as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Thiessen. Were there any errors or omissions in that set of minutes before we adopt them? As we found out today, it does happen pretty rarely with our Legislative Service Department, but does, and that's why we asked.
Good.
I don't see any, so then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of adopting that set of minutes? Thank you. That motion carries unanimously. And that'll take us to the Protective and Social Services Committee meeting. And I think Councillor O'Toole, you were chairing that one for us.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Given. We had a holiday break there a little bit, so I move that Council adopt the minutes of the Protective and Social Services Committee meeting held Tuesday, August 4th, 2020, as presented.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor O'Toole. Any discussion or debate on that set of minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor O'Toole, anything you want to highlight for us?
Yes, we did have a verbal report from Director Services Manager Chris Baniel. He topped up a couple of items here that he wanted to highlight. Enforcement Services selected traffic enforcement program known as STEP for this month being Bylaw Enforcement Education Program, BEEP, focusing on distracted driving and residential unlawful parking. But there's also a positive side to this. There will be positive tickets in a campaign underway identifying citizens doing a great job following the various rules and giving out rewards for doing so. So there's a plus there. We had enough report on the emergency management from GPREP. The COT overflow program at Bose Event Center has now concluded. Clients are being transitioned back to various shelters and other supportive housing programs. Assessments and preparedness for the possible second wave are in progress for the COVID. And we will leave it at that. Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much, Councillor O'Toole. I think that'll take us to Corporate Services. Councillor Minhas, that's your set of minutes, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor Given. I move the Council adopt the minutes of the Corporate Service Committee meeting held on Tuesday, August 4, 2020 as presented.
Thanks very much, Councillor Minhas. Any discussion or debate on that set of minutes? Again, seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion carries unanimously. Councillor Minhas.
Yes, 8.31, the policy 100 council remote and expensive reimbursement. I move the council up, move the policy council, approve the policy 100 being the council maintain and expenses of reimbursement policy as presented. Now we can do it or whatever we want to do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely open for discussion and debate on that. Thanks, Councillor Minhas. Any discussion or debate? Councillor Plot.
Thanks, Mayor. Just more of a question for administration, like the policy. I think this has been a good process. Just, I believe we had something come to corporate services before that just kind of a shorter attendance in the mandatory meetings. Now there's been new mandatory meetings added on that. Is that still going to be happening just so the public would have a quarterly or semi-annually kind of how this policy is looking? Is that something that's still be coming to corporate services?
Ms. Karwaszewski.
Thank you, Mayor Given. They quarterly reporting on council attendance will still come through Corporate Services Committee on the quarterly unaudited financial statement report that you see. And it will incorporate anything that is new that's indicated as a mandatory event through the new policy.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Plott. Any other discussion or debate? I'll just make the observation that this really does reflect what was brought forward by the Council Compensation Review Committee last council meeting. Administration was able to capture some of the feedback from council and to clarify some of the terms, which is much appreciated. And so just happy to see that accurate representation of the committee's recommendation to us. Keith Thiessen, did I see your hand?
You did, Mayor Given. I was just thinking I should acknowledge the group that put in the hard work, and you just did that. So thank you for doing that.
Ms. Karpaszewski, is there one thing I'm just not spotting it this second in the policy, but does it speak to its effective date?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mayor Given. It does. I believe it speaks as a term. So in the beginning, I'm not looking at the policy. I guess I should while I'm answering your question. But it becomes effective in October within the next council term.
So I'm just looking, and it didn't jump out to me. And so I wonder if either Councillor Minhas or anybody else would like to make an amendment, or just, I think we should do something that makes it clear that this policy, and we should have maybe caught this at committee. The policy speaks to council pay. It also speaks to reimbursements for travel. And so some of those, I think we need a motion to make clear whether we expect this policy to apply this term, we expect this policy, some portions of it to apply this term, or we expect that none of this policy applies this term and doesn't start to take effect until after the election, because there's some things about mileage and about phones and a whole bunch of other little things. Councillor Bressie?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely support a clarifying motion if somebody feels that it's needed, but I just say under reason for policy, it says to become effective after the municipal election for the 4-year term of the next council. So in reason for the policy, I think that's saying it very clearly, in my opinion anyways.
Yeah, Arlene, can you help me out? I want to make sure that we're completely clear that we're not setting our own salaries. The intention is to set salaries for the next group. So if we pass this policy, does it mean the existing policy on council reimbursement and expenses disappears? Because if it does, then maybe we need to identify which parts of this don't apply right now. Yeah.
So this policy gets approved today. So unlike a bylaw that typically is passed after 3 readings and then it's effective the immediate day that it's passed, this policy is indicating under the reason that it does not become effective until after the municipal election for the 4-year term of the next council. So the initial policy and all of its procedures that we currently have will stay effective until after the next municipal election. That's when we can effectively repeal the old stuff. If we don't need it on the books, we can formally repeal those. But as a policy being approved with this effective date, you won't see results of this until October 2021.
Good. That's I think everybody's intent. So the old policy will stay on the books until that future council chooses to repeal it.
Correct.
Okay. That's good enough for me.
Yeah.
Is there any other discussion or debate on Councillor Minhas's motion? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Minhas, anything else you want to highlight from that set of minutes?
Yes, I have a couple things. Shane did something. Okay, this Chamber done this job good, and it said assessment and taxation payment have slowed. Administration expected to be collection be slow until middle of August. And the financial administration has not yet used the line of credit, which is a good thing, and are not expecting to have to use in the future. The second quarter financial report is being finalized for the next committee meeting. Procurement to be date 2020, 129 comparative bids have been completed, which is 35% higher than 2019. GIS and IT's, the new agenda and management system has been awarded, and project completion is target for the end of August, beginning of September. Well, that's my report today for books. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Councillor Minhas. I think that'll take us to Community Services Committee and Councillor Friesen.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I would like to recommend that Council adopt the minutes of the Community Services Committee meeting held Tuesday, August 4th, 2020, as presented.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Friesen. Any discussion or debate on that set of minutes? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion carries unanimously. Councillor Friesen.
Thank you. So there was some business arising, and I would like to now recommend that Council give first reading to Bylaw C-1425A, being an amendment to the COVID-19 Eastlink Centre and Grande Prairie Outdoor Pool user fee bylaw.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Friesen. So motion for first reading, no discussion or debate on first reading. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion carries unanimously. Councillor Friesen.
Thanks. So I'd like to recommend that Council give, move that Council give second reading to Bylaw C-1425A. And I speak to this now, I believe.
Absolutely.
So the bylaw amendment is for the Eastlink Centre, and I'll talk about that a little bit first. It's for both pools. It's relative to the charges during COVID-19 and how groups have to be admitted in order to stay in the guidelines that are recommended provincially. So we've already done some things, and now there's a few more things that we can do. And I'll talk about Eastlink first, and that is that the bylaw here refers to splitting out some of the areas, like the play areas within the pool. So now groups can book the lazy river and the splash pad, and or the lazy river and splash pad together, or the water slides they can add on to a booking, those sorts of things. So this bylaw talks about that for Eastlink, and then for the outdoor pool, they've also added a 30-minute booking at $50 for private rental until regular operations are permitted to resume. But there's also a section in here that is a little out of the ordinary, and that's that Council delegates the rate-setting authority of both pools to administration for the time being. And this is just because as we're all adjusting during this COVID period, and as our facilities are adjusting to what the recommendations currently are, you know, how many people are coming, how many people are cohort groups are wanting to book, they can make their own decisions regarding how to do that and what to charge for that in order to kind of optimize what is happening there. Now, none of these charges, though, will be greater than what they're permitted to do under the fees and charges bylaw anyway. So that's what that's all about. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Friesen. Any other discussion, or sorry, any discussion or debate on second reading? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote on second reading. All those in favor? Thank you. I just want to make sure, I think I saw just about everybody except for Councillor Plott. Oh, there we go. Councillor Plott, you're in favor? Councillor Palat. We're getting a little bit of a freeze on your end. Everybody must have turned on Netflix at their house near you. Are you in favor?
Sorry, yes, I am.
Thanks very much, Councillor Palat. No worries. We've all had the Netflix slowdown in the neighborhood when their bandwidth starts to get used up. So that motion on second reading carries unanimously. Councillor Friesen.
Thank you. So I would like now to move that Council give third reading to Bylaw C-1425A, being an amendment to the COVID-19 Eastlink Centre and Grande Prairie. Have third reading to the bylaw.
Thanks very much, Councillor Friesen. Yeah, a motion to have third reading this evening. Any discussion or debate on the merits of having third and final reading? This is one of those ones that must pass unanimously for us to move on to that third and final reading. If it doesn't, then it would come back at our subsequent council meeting. I don't see anybody with any discussion or debate on that point, so I'll call for the vote on the motion to have third reading. All those in favor? Okay, I see, and Councillor Plott, thank you. That carries unanimously. And so we'll move on to third and final reading. Councillor.
Yes, let's now give third and final reading to C-1425A, being the amendment to the COVID-19 Eastlink Centre and Grande Prairie Outdoor Pool User Fee Bylaw.
Thanks, Councillor Friesen. So this is a motion for third and final reading. One more opportunity for any discussion or debate. Again, seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? I see that carries unanimously. Anything else you want to highlight in that set of minutes, Councillor Friesen?
You bet I do. The Community Knowledge Campus has seen great popular demand for, a great demand for the outdoor pool, 25 to 30 patrons per booking, and they're now actually sold out for the summer of 2020. Waitlisted families are being contacted, and I believe that there's some consideration of extension of hours and time, time into September and that sort of thing. We also thank you to Big Brothers and Big Sisters. The partnership there is going very well. They purchased a number of bookings and are sharing those in the community. So that's going really well. And by the end of the third week of Eastlink Centre reopening, 307 summer passes were sold, and utilization is approximately 36%, which is pretty good given the circumstances. The Grande Prairie Public Library Express service is now open and going very well, so you can come in for a few items, and the curbside pickup is still happening. As well, they've been able to open up some of their computers. There are a number of residents who go in and use computers at the library. There's background stuff going on as well. Chlorination system replacement project happening, and some design specs are being finalized for the curling center ice plant replacement. So there's all kinds of stuff happening. And the city and local RCMP are partnering with Volunteer Alberta to pay some of the admin costs for vulnerable sector checks for volunteers. And that's fantastic, because it's unfortunate when a volunteer has to pay to volunteer. So that's fantastic that the city and the RCMP are doing that. And Transit received 300,000 masks from the province for transit use, and they'll be repackaged and used in that department. So that's what I had for today. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Friesen. That'll take us to the Infrastructure and Economic Development Committee, and Councillor Bressie.
Great, thank you, Mayor Given. I would move the Council adopt the minutes of the Infrastructure and Economic Development Committee meeting held Tuesday, August 4th, 2020, as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Bressie. Any discussion or debate on that set of minutes? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion carries unanimously. Councillor Bressie.
Thank you. I would move the Council give first reading to Bylaw C-1166I, being an amendment to the traffic bylaw.
Thanks very much, Councillor Bressie. A motion for first reading. There's no discussion or debate. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion carries unanimously. Councillor Bressie.
Thank you. I would move the Council give second reading to Bylaw C-1166I, and just speak to us a little bit. There are a whole bunch of amendments within this bylaw that are needed. There's changes to the rules around hauling snow in the city so that our snow operations can be done a lot quicker and at a lot less cost to our ratepayers. There's provisions in there to make sure that if somebody's being inappropriate with one of our peace officers who's doing their duty, we don't need to file criminal charges. There can be a lesser bylaw offense that is more appropriate to some of the behavior that we've seen at times. There's updating our school zone and playground zones. There's some that aren't in our traffic bylaw that are needed, and there's also a few places where we're making people go 30 kilometers an hour and risk a big fine, even though there's a non-transversable fence right next to the road, so no kids are actually in much danger along those roads. And so there's a whole bunch of amendments here. I know the one that has got a lot of public attention is that there are some speed limits being lowered here. And something I want to highlight is that, yes, there are speed limits happening, including along the bypass and Wapiti Road. However, there's also amendments in this bylaw that are increasing the speed in some areas. I just named a couple playground zones, and there's other places as well. And I think that just goes to show that this isn't about our engineers looking at how do we slow speeds down across the city for whatever reason. It's them looking at what are the appropriate speeds for all the roads we have. And sometimes that means you need to increase. Sometimes that means you need to decrease speeds. And speaking specifically towards a presentation we had at committee, we had a hotspot map of where all the injury accidents were in the city over a 3-year term. And if I'm understanding the hotspot map appropriately, if you go back to our committee presentation to look at it, wherever you see orange, and there's probably about 10 orange spots on that map, wherever you see some orange on that map, that means we're getting about 1 injury accident a month in that intersection. And those are places that are being slowed down by 10 kilometers an hour, which I hope will reduce the amount of accidents that happen. But also we know that a car is a very heavy piece of machinery, and for every 10 kilometers per hour of speed you've got on that car, there's a lot of force that can injure somebody added for every 10 kilometers an hour. And so I think lowering these speeds on the bypass and Wapiti Road are important, not just to decrease the amount of accidents we have, but also to make the accidents that will still unfortunately happen a lot more deadly and a lot more dangerous. And so I think these are good amendments, and I hope that council will support this.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Bressy. Any other discussion or debate on second reading? Councillor Blackburn.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Somebody whose opinion I admire a lot also said, amongst all of the stuff that we read, that this is probably something that should not be a political decision based on popularity within the community in terms of whether it's a good idea or not. This is something where it's really a good idea to follow the science, or at least the observations of our professionals, and make the right decisions. So I hope that council will support this based on the recommendations that we've received from administration.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Blackburn. Councillor Friesen, then Councillor Plott.
Thank you. I think you're absolutely bang on, Councillor Blackburn. And I know that council did receive, I certainly did receive some emails that were concerned about these changes, and I responded to each one and gave them exactly where on the committee meeting we spoke about it. I think it was 2 hours and 30 minutes in or something, and I said, here's where you begin for to understand what the data and the science really is behind this. And I heard no further objections back from those individuals. So I think once someone is presented with those facts, this is an absolute no-brainer decision to support. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Friesen. Councillor Plott.
Thanks, Mayor Glenn. I'm in support of this. I think to Councillor Blackburn's comments, I mean, the professionals decided the speeds. There's a reason they're doing this. My only concern is, and I'm hoping it's not something I make a motion about, I'll just make it public, that I certainly hope these areas are reducing speeds. We're not putting any photo enforcement in those areas for at least 90 to 120. I think we have to let the community adapt. People have been very habitual how they've been driving to and from the work or wherever, how they drive. I just hate to see us look like cherry picking when we reduce the speed and then start putting photo radar cars there. So that's just, for me, I'm still supporting it. I just really hope that we're not being that group of people that does lower the speed and then turns around and starts putting cars in there. So I certainly hope we give grace period to the areas where we're reducing the speeds for at least a 90-ish day period to let people's habits reshape in those areas. So just a comment from.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Platt. Councillor Thiessen.
Thanks. I just want to thank our transportation department and the engineers who put their work into this, and to Councillor Bressie for succinctly detailing sort of the changes and stuff like that. I wish I could have been in committee to throw my 2 cents, because I might have made a lot of residents really angry, because nowhere in here did we reduce a lot of residential speeds, and I'm an advocate for that, but I mean, that's a discussion for another day. Otherwise, I'm full support of this. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Thiessen. And I'll just mention that at the committee meeting, one thing that you did miss was administration highlighting the fact that this was not a comprehensive review of the system of speeds. This was really to ensure that the way that it's laid out is with current practice, and a few other problem areas that they saw, that there is still that potential for an overall sort of an overarching approach to speed in the city, but this isn't intended to be that, absolutely. Councillor Clayton?
Thanks, Mayor Gibbon. Yeah, initially there were some areas that I had some concern about, and as I sort of looked into them a little bit more and drove one of them in particular today, I think that this is, as noted, very scientific in the decision making, but also, I encourage people that are concerned about this over the next little while. This is something that we do review on a regular basis, and I really appreciate administration bringing this forward. And because it changes today, it doesn't mean that traffic flows are going to stay this way always. And so it is something that can be reviewed on a regular basis. So I appreciate the sort of proactive approach to this, and look forward to seeing, maybe in 2 years from now, traffic moves somewhere else, and this could be reviewed again. So thank you to administration for that work.
Thanks, Councillor Clayton. Any other discussion or debate on second reading? Seeing none, then we'll call for the vote on second reading. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion carries unanimously. Councillor Bressie.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I would move the council have third reading of bylaw C-1166I at this meeting.
Thanks, Councillor Bressie. Any discussion or debate on the merits of having third and final reading? Seeing none, I would just make the observation that I feel very comfortable moving to third and final reading, recognizing that this was actually discussed at a committee meeting, which was a public meeting, in advance of it coming to this city council meeting. And so, although it is an important bylaw, this is not the first time the public has seen it. We have a number of member councils have referenced that we have received some public input and had some discussion with members of the public. And so it's not as though this is the first time that this has ever seen the light of day for the public. So with nothing else, then I'll call for the vote on the motion to have third and final reading. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. And I'm just missing Councillor Platt. There we go. Councillor Platt, just confirm for me you're in favor.
In favor.
Thanks, Councillor Platt. That motion does carry unanimously, and Councillor Russ, you can move on to third and final reading.
Thank you. I would move the council give third reading to bylaw C-1166I, being an amendment to the traffic bylaw.
Thanks, Councillor Bressie. One last opportunity. Any discussion or debate on third and final reading? Councillor O'Toole?
I totally support this. One thing that didn't come up at this meeting was noise bylaw with motorcycles and big trucks, and I'm looking forward to that when that comes back sometime soon.
Okay, thanks, Councillor O'Toole. Any other discussion or debate? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote on third and final reading. All those in favor? That passes unanimously again. Councillor Bressie, anything else you want to highlight from that set of minutes?
Yeah, one thing I'll highlight from our director's update is just that there's public engagement underway on a business licensing bylaw. And so we're using both online surveys, and there'll also be virtual town halls that people can take part in. So I'd really encourage our entire community, especially those who own or operate businesses, to engage in that and let us know what they think. I think there's a lot of benefit towards business licensing, and that's why the Chamber years ago asked us to institute it. But at the same time, we want to do it properly. We want to hear from the whole business community. So I hope people will pay attention to that. There was a conversation about recycling at committee meeting and some direction given to administration to be in dialogue and include councils as appropriate in conversations with Aquaterra, just figuring out what's going on at recycling facilities beyond Aquaterra and what's happening to the materials that we pay good money to be recycled in a very quickly changing world market. And there was also some conversation about requests from the county to do 100 streets, to do some work on 108th Street in terms of paving the road while some sanitary sewer work was happening. And what we heard from our administration was we just got the request too late in the summer. It's not possible to do a procurement process in a couple weeks if you want to be above board and go through the proper processes that trade agreements require to make sure that we've got a fair, transparent, open, non-corrupt process. And so just got that letter too late in the season to really action it now, although it did get referred to further conversations with the county. And that's all I have to report on the committee meeting for today.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Bressie. We have no other items of committee business, and that takes us to correspondence. Starting off with item 9.1, letter from the Grande Prairie Foundation. They're looking for a specific resolution from council to approve a change to the requisition in order to fund a new development. My understanding is that this is in alignment with the Grande Prairie agreement. I don't know if our Grande Prairie rep would like to speak to this.
Yeah, sure. I can speak to it. This is just a simple formality in having all the partner municipalities show their support. A simple resolution or a letter to the province that says we're aware of the project and we agree that they should move forward with it as a partner. We are in support of that. Very simple stuff. And if council would entertain it, I would make that motion that council direct mayor to write a letter in support of this project to the province of Alberta.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Thiessen. Any discussion or debate on that motion? Councillor Blackburn, then Councillor Bressie.
Thanks, Mayor Gavin. Just a clarification on Councillor Thiessen's motion. He's suggesting that you write to the province, and the recommendation from the foundation is that the letter go to them.
Yeah, and they will. Well, yeah, I guess thank you for clarifying that, Councillor Blackburn. Yes, just a letter in support of this project that we're aware of that, and then later that will get directed on to the province and other institutions as well. So, thank you for that.
Yep. Thanks for that clarity, Councillor Bressie.
Thank you. Just a question for maybe Councillor Thiessen or Mayor Given know the answer to this, or maybe I need to ask it to administration, but just a bit of a technical matter. We've never had to deal with this, to my knowledge, on our council before. I don't recall dealing with it if we do. So my two questions is, first of all, if it did default and we had to pay for it, it says it's based on equalized assessment, so just whatever proportion of equalized assessment we represented all partner municipalities, we'd be responsible for that. I'm seeing some nods. And then would that be a levy the organization would give us? It would just appear on a tax bill alongside as part of the normal levy, or would that be an additional fee that would have to go to council? I'm just curious how the technical side of this works.
I'm happy to have either the reps speak to it, but my understanding is that it would be just an increase to the requisition. The City of Grande Prairie is obligated to basically forward on that requisition onto the tax bill.
Cool. Great. Thank you.
Any other discussion or debates? Okay, then we have Councillor Thiessen's motion, which is essentially supporting the requested action from Grande Prairie, providing them a letter of acknowledgement and support for the project. I would just also note too that in the package it does say that the project will be self-funding and cash flow positive. So the intent is not to be coming back, but this is essentially required by the arrangement of Grande Prairie. We have to prove to the province that all member municipalities are aware that they're making this investment and are ready to step in should it be required. I don't see anything else. Then I'll call for the vote on Councillor Thiessen's motion. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion carries unanimously. And next we have a letter from the United Nurses of Alberta. This was addressed to me. You can see that they had written the same letter to the mayors of the 6 largest cities in the province. requesting that the councils consider mandating the use of masks in public spaces. I would note that we also have a delegation this evening in our scheduled delegation portion of our agenda at 6 o'clock that had intended to speak to this issue. My suggestion would be that we either receive this for information and simply receive it for information because council members have seen it and read it, and then wait to hear from our scheduled delegation in our evening session before we deal with any sort of business arising. Councillor Friesen.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I'd like to make that motion to accept the letter from the president of UNA for information, and we may see some subsequent motion or discussion come following this evening, but at this point in time, I think I'm, as a retired nurse president during many of my last years, certainly of nursing, it seems to me, I was quite disappointed to see that UNA, that Ms. Smith sent this to the largest cities without regard to the experience within those cities, and then disregarded other municipalities that have more concerning case rates and that sort of thing. So I thought that was rather disappointing. But that's neither here nor there. I move to accept for information.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Friesen. Any discussion or debate on that motion? Again, seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion carries unanimously. I think that handles all of our correspondence. We had no delegations for the early part of our session. We have no notices of motion this afternoon. So we will recess our council meeting and we will return and restart at 6 p.m. For scheduled delegations and then council member reports. So we'll see you all back for our 6 p.m. restart.